Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, all around the world, boys and girls, hello and welcome to another episode of The Neutral Corner, not The Neutral Corner, shoot, The Watch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch, right here on YouTube and every podcasting platform. Here, imagine my hello and welcome. Get excited, make some noise, clap it up, get excited wherever you are, on your job, at your work, wherever you choose or are at right now. We are the hottest show in all the globe, right here on YouTube and every podcasting platform. Here, Maximum, we're so glad and happy to be with you today because we got so much to cover in the world of sports. We got Terence Crawford in his greatness as we again are still looking ahead to Canelo Alvarez and that mega matchup in, I believe, later this year after we see Canelo fight William Scroll over in May. We also got Benavidez versus Bivol in the fight that we all are excited with. In the fight that we're all anticipating to happen when it comes to the world of the light heavyweight division. Two of some of the most high-profile fighters, one of the most exciting fighters in Benavidez versus one of the more technical savants that we've seen in the world of boxing, especially in the light heavyweight division, in all of its history, in Bivol. And also we got some Lamont Roach talk. If we got time, we got some NBA talk that we got to talk about. March Madness for anybody who wants to go over and talk about college basketball. And of course, at the end of the show, we got the championship rounds where you can talk about anything and everything that you so choose. Make the show your own. But we welcome you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your time. And again, please leave a like on the stream. Comment your thoughts and opinions on whatever we choose to talk about. And also, whatever your opinions or your thoughts, your voice is what helps drive this show. No question about it. So please put it in the chat. We'll bring it up right here. And you can have your say on what your feelings are for whatever we discuss. As well as, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. Yes, indeed. We done reached 660. In terms of 1,660 subscribers. Yes, we're growing consistently, fervently. We're going to be the biggest show in the world one day. Mark my words, sooner rather than later. And so, all thanks to you and your support. But with all that being said, we have an action-packed show for you today, and we ain't got time to waste. People got stuff to do. I got stuff to discuss, and people got lives to live. So we're gonna edify and hopefully make your morning or afternoon a little bit more exciting, a little bit more eventful. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna love, we're gonna learn, and we all gonna have our we're probably going to argue, I can tell you what. But regardless of which, let's jump right into the show, shall we? And since we're talking about boxing first and foremost, it is time to step into the ring. Hey, that's right, ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one of this show going underway as we have to discuss first and foremost. Yes, indeed, Lamont Welch. Yes, we have to. It is a necessary thing because, again, from the news cycle's perspective, right now he's the hottest ticket out there in terms of talk of the town. But we're going to go a little bit different. We need to talk about something that potentially gets overlooked in the realm of a newfound star in the boxing world, especially when it comes to somebody that is relatively, I don't want to call him unknown, but relatively, how do we say, some would call it disrespected. All of a sudden, thrust into the limelight of being everywhere and anywhere in the hearts and minds of fans all around the world. What can that do to a man suddenly thrust with newfound fame? And have we seen a situation before where this could lead to a very bad downward path come when he wants to, when he gets the opportunity to fight against Tank once again and get his get back in blood and legitimately avenge what was, for most people, seen as a legitimate loss in the column of Tank Davis? But first, let's see what people have to say. Al Booger, what's up with you? How you doing? Good to see you. Like I said, we'll bring you up on the show if you got something to say in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Pleasure to be with you on this afternoon. Whatever people want to discuss, again, put it in the chat and we can talk about it right here. But again, let's talk Lamont Roach real quick and let's discuss some of the implications as the title or as the title on the video and as you see on the screen. Will success be his downfall? Now again, Lamont Roach is still a brother who, again, right now I believe is 23-2 after losing to Tank Davis, was, and I believe currently still is, the 130-pound champion. Again, beating the likes of Hector Luis Garcia to retain it, defending it once, bing, bang, boom, everything's all well and good. Now, winning, or rather, being robbed of a win against the likes of Tank, put him in a new perspective of potentially being in over his head when it comes to internal discipline. And this is what I mean when I say, will success be his downfall? There is a real concern when it comes to Lamont Roach when we look at the greater landscape of the history of boxing and how fame has gotten to people's heads. And even in failure, when people have found success, they ultimately self-destruct. They blow up of their own volition, like a bomb. If you were, for any of my Mario fans out there, you hit it once and then all of a sudden, shoot, they might bump into a wall and they blow up by themselves without any other external input, any other external involvement from somebody sabotaging or messing up your momentum. And with Lamont, I don't want to see that, but it may just happen because Lamont was just in an interview, I believe, with Cameron and Mace on shoot, what's the show called? I don't forget what the show's called. Cameron and Mace on their podcast when they were discussing after the win with Lamont Roach, or after the fight with Lamont Roach, how his reactions are, or how the fight went, all that stuff. One of the questions was, how have you been dealing with this newfound fame? And he's like, all of a sudden, yeah, I ain't never experienced this before. I'm built for it. Again, his words, not mine. I'm built for it. Yeah, I can handle it, but I ain't never seen this before. I got to get security. I got fans all around me. This, that, and the third, everything that comes with being all of a sudden a megastar. I see why people don't like this. It is a lot, both good and bad. Again, he said he can handle it, but it is something that is a newfound territory. And then with other people, even with more experienced people, we have seen with this level of fame, they get at this threshold where they cross the boundary of just being known and just being talented to all of a sudden now you're living the limelight of what fame brings to offer due to the elevated level of essentially pedestal that you get put on. You get offered a lot. Let's be real about it. We know this. When you become famous, there are tiers to fame, even in you being known. Stephen A., Bill Simmons, and Shannon Sharp all got different degrees of fame. Shannon Sharp and Stephen A., a little bit more closer. Still, there's a difference. But one can't walk around, the other one can, without security. One, their lifestyle, due to their status, now is shifted, altered, changed, genuine. They operate different. Doors get open that aren't open for other people. Doors get essentially built that aren't built for other people. Shortcuts, freedom, free things, all this stuff, because of now your newfound status, can get to people. It can get and blow up people. It can make them essentially lose themselves in the wealth, in the fame, in the money. You're literally a victim of your own success. You drown in a pool that everybody wants to swim in. Not because you don't know how to swim, but you ain't never swam in this type of depth before. You can lose yourself. Perfect example when we look at the life of Roberto Duran. Hands of stone. Let's not forget the brother at 135 was a menace. Arguably the greatest lightweight that we have ever seen in boxing history. Genuinely ran the table. When he beat Sugar Ray Leonard the first time in that incredible fight, my gosh, it was insane. It was ridiculous. And what did he do? Right afterwards, went out partying, got out of shape, got what was not disciplined, was set himself, or rather, we have outside or rather on-site sources of that time that witnessed everything that Roberto Duran was doing. He was doing everything but training. He was living life, loving life. We've seen it like with Edgar Berlanga when he went out and lost to Canelo, but went and had a parade, I believe, in his hometown. Because of that, all that, imagine that, but turned up to 10 notches. Roberto Duran was out there in the streets in terms of being the brother was having fun. And after that win, he went and lost. And didn't lose the fire, still loved to fight, but he lost that same level of disciplined action that got him to be a champion, that got him to beat the likes of Ray Leonard. And still, that afterwards turned him into what we see as one of the greatest boxers in history. One of the four kings of the era. And a definitive beacon, an icon, a legend amongst legends. Mike Tyson, one of his idols, Roberto Duran. This is what we're talking about. This is the same potential road. Though it's not nearly as on the same heights. Another example, Andy Ruiz. Let's not forget Andy Ruiz. We want to talk about modern days. My gosh, that brother went through and had an upset of all upsets. Arguably since Tyson lost to Douglas. Andy Ruiz versus AJ was one of the biggest upset wins we had seen in boxing. At minimum, the greatest we had seen in the modern day history. Genuinely. Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. When that fight happened, it shook up the landscape of the boxing world. I woke up people when that fight happened. My goodness. It was that much of a shock to the system. And when that did happen, the world was at his feet. First Mexican heavyweight champion ever in boxing history. His own country turned him into a beloved icon. He was already loved. His fighting style, his power, all that stuff. He was respected, absolutely. At least in terms of he was a good fighter. But to the degree of him versus AJ, people thought it was going to be a wash. Beats him, becomes a hero to his country on a scale that elevated him in some, again, not comparing him in any way, shape, or form to the same heights, but he reached the at least threshold of a inkling of what we see with Canelo on a daily basis. From the landscape of he is a mega type star, and everybody around the country roots for him. He got a taste of that. Nowhere close to Canelo, but a taste of that. He punctured that atmosphere after that win. Talk shows with Jimmy Fallon. Talk shows around, with Jimmy Kimmel. You couldn't go anywhere without him being there in some way, shape, or form. Going parades, doing press conferences, having interviews with every single big conglomerate. First Take, ESPN, don't matter. This is the problem. Because after that, Andy Ruiz completely lost himself. Completely lost himself. Didn't train. Didn't work. Didn't keep his composure. Didn't keep his consistency in the gym. Became overweight. More overweight than he already was. And the brother, when he was big before And during the AJ fight, that was his best weight. He looked like Andy Ruiz. But then afterwards, ballooned up, got out of shape, and then never recovered since then. All that momentum gone. All the talent of what we know Ruiz really was at before the AJ fight. And in that AJ fight, all of that seemingly went away. Now struggling with Chris Arreola. Now struggling with the likes of old King Kong Luis Ortiz. Just went to a draw with Jarrell Miller. And we all expected that we would see Ruiz. That was supposed to be his comeback fight. Mind you, Miller had lost to Daniel Dubois. That was supposed to be his comeback fight, and we see Ruiz against a tougher opponent come out, show that he's better, show that he's trained, show that he's ready, and do work against Jarrell Miller. That was what was expected to happen in a competitive affair. Next thing you know, many people were saying, myself included, the brother actually got robbed of a win in terms of Jarrell Miller. I thought he beat Ruiz in that fight. This is the problem. The cycle of perpetual implosion. We don't want that to be the case. And when we look at the world of Lamont, there is a concern that we could see that too. Not because, I'm not saying he isn't disciplined. I'm not saying he doesn't have all the tools to be able to keep grounded. But when it comes to him as a fighter, especially with seemingly the rematch coming right around the corner, there's got to be a level of understanding that you can't lose yourself to the fame that you have garnered. You earned your ticket into the ballroom. Now you can't lose the ability to dance. You can't get lax in saying, I made it. Then you're going to look like a fool when the spotlight gets on you again. When it was unexpectedly put on you the first time, you were prepared. But then if you let yourself feel like I'm entitled to this or I earned this, which again, you did, but you now are, like we've seen with others, you become lax. Or honestly, you don't value the moment like you should. You indulge rather than keeping consistency. You overindulge rather than making sure you stay ready, even while you enjoy your success. You could have those very same tales told to you. You could be part of that lineage of fighters that got there, that made it, and then boom, they went and they lost what should have been a solidified spot at a table that you earned. All because you did not keep yourself disciplined. You let the life and the fame overshadow the work that should have been done. I am not saying that this is going to be Lamont Roach, but I am saying that we have seen this before with better fighters than Lamont. Again, like Roberto Duran. Shoot, if we want to be honest, like Tyson. When he let outside life, not just the bad, but also the good of outside life, seep into him as a boxer, stuff started changing. Stuff started shifting. And so now that becomes a problem. We don't want that. Especially not with Lamont, especially not what we see now with Lamont Roach. He earned his spot at the table, earned the fame, earned everything that he got. Absolutely. But we just got to be mindful. Don't lose yourself. Don't drown in success. Because it's what everybody wants. Absolutely. But it's just as easily you can die in the pool that you worked to swim in all your life. If you aren't careful and making sure that you understand, I got to stay disciplined if I want to keep on floating. Because just like I could drown when I was coming up, I can drown now. The only difference is the pool is deeper. That's it. The pool is deeper. And so it's a lot more easy to get lost in the pool, to get lost in the depths if you aren't disciplined. That's my biggest concern when it comes to the world of Lamont Roach. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's something to keep an eye out on when we look at the landscape of him as we anticipate the rematch with Tank Davis. And we want it to be as best as it can be. We want Lamont to be a star that he's deserved to be since he's became essentially a person of high value interest for the rest of the world. And so, yeah, but let me see what you all have to see. Good guys, we got a lot of people coming up. MS, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming through. Lamont Roach came to upset the apple cart, and Tankomatics are freaking out. A lot of people are. They are. It has made a lot of people feathers ruffled when their favorite fighter is pushed to a limit, and in my opinion, beat when, again, especially against somebody that had no business in their eyes, and in my eyes too, being in the ring at that point in time. Oh yeah, and we've seen this before multiple times with everybody's favorite fighter when they get tested and or lose. If you are a overt fanboy, it can be a shock to the system. It definitely can. And so they're crashing out left, right, and center. And again, I respect them. It's just, my gosh. It's like definitely the biggest upset since Tyson Douglas for sure. Yep, absolutely. Crawford versus Canelo is just a clown fight. We're going to talk about that next. Don't get me wrong. It's the morning, y'all. What's up, Jay Riggs? How you doing? Good to see you. Also, shoot, Al Booger, what's good with you? How you doing as well? Almost forgot to say hi, and I believe I already said hi to MS. But let's see what Jay Riggs had to say. Maybe the biggest upset since AJ Ruiz potentially, and let's see, and don't forget or even the new one with Bicoli upset. And look, hey, look, Bicoli. I wanted to talk about Bicoli earlier on. I really hope that he beats F.A. Ajagba. I really hope he beats F.A. Ajagba. Again, this is a quick sidebar. I really hope he beats F.A. I really hope he beats F.A. Ajagba. I really hope he beats F.A. Ajagba. Because if I wanted to see a competitive heavyweight division, F.A. Ajagba is not somebody that is on my list of, if he gets there, and he will get there if he knocks out Bicoli, he'll be in that conversation of having and helping the sport be more entertaining, exciting, and more so unpredictable. Bicoli's the man I want there. Because F.A., I don't value him highly as a elite contender when it comes to the boxing world. Too stiff, got power, but doesn't really have a bunch else in his arsenal from what I watched him fight that makes me think he can really compete with the likes of the best and contenders in the heavyweight division. So I'm really hoping that we see F.A. Ajagba get beat by Bicoli, just for the sake of competitive fervor in the heavyweight division. And also, how you doing? Good to see you, Jay Riggs. I'm glad that you here. And everybody else that's in the chat, please leave a like on the stream if you would. I think we got 8 people right now. This is great, and hopefully we got more people coming. The more you like, the more people show up. So please leave a like on the stream, no question about it. And we appreciate your presence here. Absolutely. Yo, Trey, what's going on? How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, the groupies might get to him. This is not something that's just out the blue. We got potential issues that outside perpetrators, and perpetrators is the wrong word, excuse me, make people sound bad. Outside influences can potentially affect the life of Lamont. But again, nearly all of it is based on your internal discipline. How do you choose to operate when you go through this newfound fame? You got to be mindful of yourself. You got to set your own barriers. Enjoy and indulge, but only to a degree that keeps you still grounded. Because you still got work to do. And we don't want to see all the work that you've done all of a sudden get eviscerated, because you lost track of what the goal was, which is you still got a career that you got to leave a legacy with. And you don't want your legacy to be laden with all of a sudden, well, you're self-imploded. You blew up in your own face. Don't want that to happen. Don't want that to happen at all. Let's see. Robles said Robles said he didn't see and Ruiz to train until a week before the AJ fight. 2. By then, Ruiz was almost 300 pounds. Shoot, I thought he was already 300 in the first fight. But I tell you what, that brother, he showed that yeah, he ain't trained for nothing. He showed that he let himself fall through the cracks. He let himself fall through, and he's never recovered since. I'm telling you, he's never recovered. I said, yo, El Pinchy, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in to the show. No question about it. I'm glad that you are here. Roach looks to have a good mindset. I don't think he's ruining his career. And again, I am not saying he's ruining his career at all. I am saying there is a risk that needs to be understood for the boxing public. And also, Jay Riggs, thank you. He was 247. He was only 247 when he fought AJ the first time. Wow, I thought he was bigger. I mean, I know he's always looked big, but I thought he was bigger. But appreciate you, coming through and helping me and correcting me on that. My gosh, shoot. No wonder he fought like he fought. Shoot. Yeah, the brother was fast, had power. He still looked big, but it looked like he had a shock absorber. And I thought he was already 300, but not. He was only 247, and he looked a whole lot better. My gosh, dang, thank you. Appreciate you clearing that up with me. But again, El Pinchy, Roach, I'm not saying he's going to ruin himself. I'm not saying he's already doing that. I am saying he potentially can fall down this same trap when people who reach an even higher elevated level of fame based on their success fall into. From Roberto Duran all the way down to, again, Ruiz. And everybody in between, names I ain't even thinking of. What's happened before. And we don't want it to happen again. But understand, it can. You got to understand, it can. And as much as a good, brave face that we may see Lamont Roach have in the face of all this, which, again, he earned, no question, it's still behind the scenes, what is done in the dark. That's what always comes to light. What's done in secret is always what's going to be seen. Eventually, unless you change. Or if you stay consistent. Either way, it's going to show. And we hope it's what it needs to be. So we hope he doesn't fall down that trap. But it's a possibility. Listen, yo, Stabby, what's good with you? How you doing? Appreciate you coming in on to the show. Welcome to the Welch Report with me, John Lucas. Glad you're coming back. Let's see what you got to see. Roy Jones purposely got disqualified versus Griffin in the first fight because he thought he was really. I got to rewatch that fight. I can't confirm or deny because I got to rewatch that fight. My memory is a little bit fuzzy. Sounds kind of suspect, but I'm not going to say it is because I got to go rewatch it. So we'll put a pin in this and we'll come back to this when I go through, y'all go through the archives. Shoot, I'll go through YouTube, shoot, and try to figure out if that's really true or not. But let's see. Who's the Cuban that trained with Canelo heavyweight that fought the FA guy? Shoot, I know who you're talking about. I can't, godly, what was his name? What was his name? The name will lose me at this point, my bad. If somebody does know, please allow us to understand so we can see what you got going on, no question about it. But let's see. Al Booger, let's see, RJJ, Roy Jones Jr. for DQ'd because he punched Griffin when he was already down. Griffin took a knee and AJ still clean. No, okay, yeah, so what was that fight? My bad, excuse me. And we all over the place. Frank Sanchez, thank you, El Pinchy. Thank you, Frank Sanchez. I believe, Frank Sanchez. Frank Sanchez was his name. I believe that's the only Cuban I can think that comes to mind when Cuban background heavyweight can be, or at his best was elusive and looked to be one of the better heavyweight contenders at one point. Similar to some people have him as a top 5 legitimate threat at one point in time. Not now, but at one point in time. But regardless of which, now, nowhere close. But yeah, I think it was Frank Sanchez. So yeah, I believe it was. So appreciate y'all. Again, y'all helping me with filling the blank. That's what we like. That's what we need. But again, Roy Jones Jr., you're right. He did get disqualified because the brother did punch him when he was there. In fact, that's the fight. Excuse me. Thank you. This is the fight where he was going to win, would have won, but because he got overzealous and punched the brother while he was down. And then Griffin sold it. Got disqualified. Understandably so. And so it's like, yeah, he broke the rules. And that's partially, that's the reason why he went and afterwards, he said it himself in I forget which interview, but he said it himself in an interview. That's part of why afterwards he went and just started running through divisions. Because of his own volition, he said, well, I ain't got nothing to protect no more. My undefeated record's gone. But might as well go and try to dominate as much as I can. Hence why that fight, without that fight, we may have not gotten the level of Roy that we got in terms of continually challenging everybody that he fought. All the weight classes, James, Tony, Hopkins, all of them. Might not have gotten that. Light heavyweight, super middleweight. Might not have gotten that far if he had not gotten disqualified. Because by his own volition, he said he had a record to protect. Once that went away, all shackles went away from, okay, I have nothing to lose now. I already lost. Let's go to work and see how far we can push this thing. So, some people say this may be a blessing in disguise. Because it evolved Roy into what we see now, which, hey, is great. And whooped him in the first round of rematch. So again, Roy's Roy. this is what he does. And so it's going through, everybody's going through the history of Roy Jones Jr. Absolutely. And actually, Al Booger, Roy Jones Jr. is the greatest of the 90s and 2000s, in my opinion. Definitely check out this fight. Oh no, that's not, in my opinion, that's not an opinion. That's a fact. Roy Jones Jr. in the 90s and 2000s, for those of you who don't know, was indeed running boxing. He was. Tyson was still around, Mike, and he was still the biggest cash cow. No question about it. He was still the face of the sport at that point in time. Absolutely. No question about it, because it was Tyson. But Roy Jones Jr. of that era, he was a different beast. A different beast entirely. He was a different animal. He was a different animal. It got to the point in the early 2000s, he was getting ready to potentially fight Mike Tyson. I believe, what was it, 02, 03? Just about. You wanted to get that far? He wanted to get an opportunity for that fight? This man, and mind you, Floyd Mayweather was in the same era as Roy Jones Jr. And nobody talked about Floyd. And Floyd was still undefeated. This was Pretty Boy Floyd. This was Floyd that was knocking people out. This was Floyd that was beating the likes of Diego Corrales. I believe, was it Gotti that he knocked out, or was it Ward that he knocked out? One of them, I think it was Arturo Gotti, that he also fought and knocked out or beat. That Floyd was still great. In fact, it was everything that many people, after his hands started getting brittle, he was everything that was the antithesis of what everybody said he made him born. And still was defensively sound. And yet still, nobody said anything about him in the same way that we talk about him now. Because Roy was clearing away the best of that era, of that decade. There was no equal. There was none. I've continually said Roy, in my opinion, outside of Sugar Ray Robinson, is the most gifted boxer I have ever seen. That's it. There was nobody else like Roy Jones Jr. There will never be anybody else like Roy Jones Jr. I promise you. There won't be another one. There will not be another one in my estimation. And so yeah, but let's see what other people have to say before we go on into the world of good God, something's going on with my chest. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're good now. Let's see. That's right. He was supposed to fight Mike and it fell through. Don't remember what happened though. I think it was either Mike wanted more money or potentially Mike had lost. That kind of pushed everything away. Something happened. Something did happen that messed up what was going to be one of the biggest fights of that era. Oh my gosh. Oh, you want to talk about cash grabs? That fight would have, they might have had to build a new stadium. That fight might have been in a football stadium. and pushing potentially upwards of 100,000 people. There's a hypothetical they could have gotten there if it had actually went through. That would have been one of the most historic fights in boxing. I'm so serious. That would have been a history fight if that ever took place. When at that point in time, and so, but sadly, never happened. And so it's a mess. It is a mess. But we're gonna have to see. Oscar was a megastar in the 90s. Also, Floyd and Pacquiao both didn't become huge pay-per-view until fighting Oscar Robertson. Respect, absolutely understand. I completely get it. It's just, even Oscar was what we see with Ryan Garcia now, or what we did see with Ryan Garcia now. Excuse me, I said about the first time. What we're seeing with Ryan Garcia now, and why is he getting so many comparisons to Oscar De La Hoya, isn't just because of the stardom, or rather, or isn't just because of the ethnic background. The rise looked to be similar. Women loved him, knockout artist as well, incredibly fast, was a big time name, big time brand, and rising quickly through the ranks of the boxing world. Oscar was Ryan on steroids. Legitimate. Oscar was Ryan Garcia on steroids, not literal steroids, which probably a bad time to use that analogy, but probably a bad time to use that analogy when it comes to, but I walked into that one. Okay, I walked into that one. That's fine. Not the best vernacular to use, but Oscar was right. On our story. So how do we say this? Oscar De La Hoya was Ryan Garcia, but turned up to like 11, both in talent and in actual fame and acclaim. The brother, I believe, wasn't he nominated for a Grammy also because he made a song and he can actually sing? I don't know if he won it, but he was nominated for one and he can actually sing, on top of the good looks, on top of the fighting style, and on top of was legitimately fighting about everybody in his era. Oh yeah. Oh, he was the man. If you don't know, he was one of the staple faces in the sport. You couldn't talk about boxing, and Oscar De La Hoya wasn't one of the first names of that era that came to mind. He was solidified. Oh yeah, he was a bad brother, both in the ring and outside the ring, and for the good and for the bad. Because we know the naked fishnet suit, cocaine, and all that stuff, all those other things that happened, that kind of help muddy the waters of how we look at Oscar De La Hoya. So, so maybe Ryan Garcia and Oscar are a little bit more common than we think. No, I'm just kidding. Just a joke. Please, just a joke. Just jokes, please. Just trying to be funny. No, I'm just trying to be funny. But genuinely, it was a time. I'll tell you, that 90s and 2000 era of boxing was filled with a lot of incredible talent across the board in divisions. Oh yeah, it was phenomenal. It was incredible. That's all. Okay, so it was Arturo Gatti. Appreciate it. Glad that you helped clarify that with me, Al Booger. And so yeah, Pretty Boy was incredibly aggressive, and the money became defensive at the end. Excuse me. Pretty Boy was a very aggressive fighter, and money became defensive and showed the sweet science. Yes, absolutely. He like Floyd. And real quick, we're getting ready to go into Crawford right now. We are. But real quick, one more thing about Floyd Mayweather that I would be remiss if I said. Floyd's one of the few people that we have seen in boxing history that can completely change their game and still keep who they are as a fighter intact. Normally, when you change up how you fight, you lose a portion of yourself. A la Joe Joyce. The man tried to fight defensive, and all of a sudden, he's never looked the same. was forced to have to evolve and couldn't evolve against Yang. And there's plenty of situations where somebody is trying something new or is trying to change themselves for the better, and they can't. They don't have many other facets that can make them be successful. Deontay Wilder, the brother tried to change. Too little, too late. One, but also two, he didn't have the capability to change. He couldn't change who he was as a fighter. He couldn't evolve when it was time to face the music. Floyd, when he couldn't be the Floyd that he normally was, when he couldn't be Pretty Boy anymore, not just because of, the money was bigger, so now I gotta, walk different, but also physically my hands can't take being Pretty Boy anymore. Now turning into Money Mayweather, he still kept himself. He didn't change and all of a sudden lose a portion of himself. It was like he was able to seamlessly transition. And it became like clockwork. There's few people that can do that. The biggest one that comes to mind is George Foreman. George Foreman, he evolved his style 15 years after he had retired from the ring and came back and was able to win the heavyweight championship, not just because he was big George Foreman. And no, it wasn't because the era was watered down. At least at that point in time. It wasn't because of that. But it's because of the fact that he was able to legitimately change and evolve his style to fit where he was in his newfound stance physically, as well as what he needed to do against the modern day of heavyweights with his advanced age, and was able to accomplish what seemed to be the impossible. That's the most blatant recent memory of somebody changing drastically and still being effective and still not losing themselves and getting lost in their new style. That's what we see with Floyd Mayweather. And there's very few that could have done that. Very few that could have done it. In boxing history, there's few people that could do that and be successful, be something else other than what they are, and still be at their best. It's an incredible feat that I think gets overlooked and just kind of blasé by many people. You mean to tell me that a brother who was aggressive and one of his best attributes was being on the offensive, working and fighting in the pocket, all while making you miss and then still tagging you and trying to clean you out? Next thing you know, he is forced to become a defensive fighter, and still he is able to be just as dominant, fighting literally the very opposite of what made him such a big threat in boxing when he arrived on the scene. That's preposterous. That's ridiculous. Oh, that's insane. But he did it. And I think people don't talk about it enough. We can say what we want about Floyd, about his career, about whether he's the best in history, whether he's top 10, all those different types of conversations. You can have your arguments about it. Whether you like or hate what he helped turn the sport into, you can have your conversations about all that. But we have to recognize greatness when we see it. And that was indeed something spectacular. There's no denying it. That's why he's one of the greatest in history, regardless of how you feel about it. Regardless of how you feel. And let's see. Also, I almost forgot. I got to say what's up to Dry Turkey. What's going on, Dry Turkey? How you doing? Good to see you. Appreciate you coming in on the show. No question about it. Thank you so much. You do my heart incredibly good. Absolutely. And so, but now I think we got to go and we got to change topics. We need to talk about Canelo and Crawford. We got to. I believe that's the next topic of the show before let me make sure I got the yeah. That's the next topic of the show. So we got to make sure we'll stay on topic with that. Let me go and read these last couple chats, and then we going and we shifting gears. No question around. Foreman won heavyweight titles in two of the top heavyweight decades, the 70s and the 90s. That's why he is considered one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, one of the greatest boxers, period. To be able to do that, especially when people normally categorize him as just a powerful, non-technical fighter, when he was incredibly technical. He was a gold medal Olympus and was a incredible swarming brawler that would use his strength and length to prop you up and force you to go where he wanted you to go. Dominated the likes of Norton, Frazier, dominated about every single heavyweight that he faced, except for Ron Lyle and Ali. That was it. And then he lost before one more time before ultimately nearly died. I got to turn my life around, became a preacher, all that stuff, got his money stolen, and then came back. All that stuff. You can go watch the documentary and look up the story. It's incredible, heartbreaking, and then turning into phenomenal. And then of course he made over, what was it, 500 million? I believe over 100 million to 500 million selling the George Foreman grill. So everything that turned out better than ever expected. Absolutely. And he's a blessed man. No question about it. But not that man he's a monster. He is a monster. I'm surprised more heavyweights don't go to him to learn about boxing, to help edify their own style. I don't know why people don't do that more often. People keep calling Joyce and Bacoli the next Foreman, which I think is ridiculous. That is preposterous. They call Bacoli Foreman more so because of the punch style, not the talent, the punch style. Again, Foreman could lazily jab you and all of a sudden you're rocked. Foreman, he would sweep. He could just sweep with arm punches like with Bacoli, or go boom, boom, boom with very little leverage, and next thing you know, you're on the floor. Like, that's where we compare Bacoli to the likes of Foreman, with punch style, not with technical ability, but with how they punch. There is a level of similarity. Joe Joyce, I never saw it. Joe Joyce was just big, strong, and had a granite chin at his best, but I never saw that. I never saw it. But Bacoli, offensively, I see somewhat of it. There is a semblance of punching styles that I see that they compare, but not talent in the slightest. Not talent ever in the slightest. And so, yeah. And so, Facts Foreman is criminally underrated and forgotten to the boxing annals. He's top 10 heavyweight, top 5. In my opinion, I think he's top 5. For me, top 5. Concretely, he's top 5 for me. Go through heavyweight history and tell me who you wouldn't choose a prime George Foreman against, or even an old George Foreman against, when it comes to the greater landscape of boxing. It's hard. It is hard. Because old Foreman gave Holyfield a run for his money. If old Foreman was younger against Holyfield, I think he beats Holyfield. If old Foreman was younger against Tommy Morrison, he beats Tommy Morrison. If old Foreman was young Foreman against the majority, if not all, of the heavyweight regime of that point in time in his second stint, he beats everybody. Just about everybody. And that includes people that he didn't fight. Like, I think Riddick Bowe was still around at that point in time. That includes him. The only thing that I knew with Tyson, Holyfield, and Lennox Lewis, because I think they never got an opportunity to fight. Those are the only people that I think would be, okay, yeah, they could get him. But it'd be hard. Boy, it would be hard. It's hard for me to pick anybody. I know. And Jimmy Young was who beat Foreman. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Jimmy Young, appreciate you for helping me with that. I knew it was something, Young. Appreciate it. Thank you. See, again, y'all help keep me in check. If I know something, but I can't get it quite right, I'm glad that you all are here to help me make sure I'm correcting my stuff. I got a lot going on. I'm trying to work through and make it so that we keep it consistent. But hey, it can be difficult. It can. But y'all, again, we all learn and grow together. That's why we're here. I'm not gonna always be right. Absolutely. That's why you are here. And that's why we love each other. That's why we love doing this. Absolutely. But again, we gotta go. We have to go. We have to go because we gotta go do more stuff in the boxing regime. And again, let's see, top 5 for me: Ali, Lewis, Lennox, Foreman, and Holmes. I respect the list, especially with Holmes, because he's drastically underrated, longest heavyweight champion, I think, outside of Joe Louis, and was definitively, even old Holmes was still giving everybody the business when everybody else was at their prime outside of the likes of Mike Tyson. Oh, Holmes legitimately is incredibly underrated, partially because he was in the shadow of Ali, and also partially because for some reason he just never gravitated to the boxing public, even when he was indeed on top of the division, like with other heavyweights. And I never understood why. Maybe it's because he wasn't as personable. Maybe because after Ali, it was like, you're a knockoff in some people's eyes. I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm saying this is what some people could be saying about him, or at that point in time, as to why he didn't gravitate and get more respect that he deserved in his prime, specifically. Because the man was a beast. He was a beast. And he fought everybody in his division. Everybody. And he cleaned everybody out. Arguably got the best jab that we've seen in boxing history, on par with the likes of Lewis, or at least in that conversation with Lewis, Liston, Ali, Klitschko, if you want to go there as well. Like, it's incredible. Had footwork, had some good power, was great defensively, was completely dominating his competition. Yeah, no, he very much gets disrespected. No question about it. Very much gets disrespected. And so also, Warlock Boxing, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning into the show. No question about it. We appreciate you coming on the live. Again, if you haven't already, leave a like on the stream. If you like what we got going on, the more you like, the more the stream gets out there, and the more the algorithm pushes more people to come through to see what we got to offer. No question about it. But we have to continue because we got a big jam-packed show still coming through right now. So let's not waste any time. Let's go to the next topic of the day. Terence, wrong one. Terence Crawford's greatness and specifically his power. Now, this segment was something to both give respect and to ask questions about. And this is the question that we will do first. Let's give respect where respect is due. The reason why we got Terence Crawford's greatness as the title is because I think I wanted to take a second to truly go back through his run at welterweight. And also beforehand. Because the brother had an 8-fight knockout win streak before or at welterweight, knocking out on his run to becoming undisputed every single opponent that he had faced. And Ring Magazine put up a post about it, and it made me really kind of take stuff into perspective. Mind you, some of the names that he knocked out: Evanesian, Calavasquez, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, Jose Benavidez Jr., David Benavidez's brother, Amir Khan, Sean Porter, Kell Brook, Errol Spence, a bunch of people. Not to mention likes of Indongo, or is it Indigo or Indongo, and others, which all in all capitulated to about an 11-fight win streak by KO as a whole. And I think we kind of take it for granted somewhat just how stupid that is to think about. From 140 to 147, not only did his power carry, but against the best of the division, he cleaned everybody out with a definitive knockout. It wasn't until last year that we didn't see Terence Crawford put somebody on the canvas. It wasn't until Madrimov that we didn't see him put somebody on the floor and take him out completely. And the names that he went through in lieu to get there are indeed incredible, especially on that streak, separating himself from the likes of everybody else in the division. And I think we need to take some time to understand that may have been one of the greatest runs in that division that we had seen, potentially in history. Genuine. Again, not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm saying potentially, when we look back at that level of sustained greatness and outright dominance and what he did to people and the names that he did it against, I think some people really take it for granted just how spectacular having this level of resume with this, which again encapsulated by KOs for that long of a streak against some real killers. Just about every major killer in the division on his side of the street. Like it's preposterous. I can't think of another run that we've seen like that. Genuine. I can't think of something like that. It's hard. I'm trying to think, but I'm trying to come to mind to think of what exactly is like what comes close today to something of that caliber. Because it truly messes with me that this man was able to take out, again, in a very stacked division, go 11-0 at one point in time. He had never lost already, but in terms of when the streak again started, once he got into the title picture in 2016, when he won the title in 2016, all the way into last year, and against nobody met the end of the fight. Nobody reached the end of the fight. From 2016 to 2024, nobody got to the end of a fight. That and the names that he did that again, it boggles my mind. But it speaks also to his level of ability to carry power in the division, which breeds another question in the world of us as boxing fans as we look forward to the world of Canelo. Can his power carry to fight against Canelo Alvarez at 168 with the track record that he showed that he could do from 135 to 140 to 147, and then what he showed at 154 with that streak finally getting stopped? Do we use that fight with Magimov as a whole barometer that, yeah, his power is not going to be anything once he moves up? Or are we neglecting what that one fight, are we overemphasizing what that one fight was in lieu of the history that he had been able to show all throughout his career in a stacked division? And we're just negating that. And we may be overlooking that, yeah, Crawford's power may just actually carry up to 168. And if that does happen, we could be looking at a tighter fight than we all may expect, that isn't just built off of boxing IQ versus size and power, that many people are trying to just put this fight in a gauge with. Genuinely, we could be looking at a situation where, like we've said earlier, when we've talked about this fight, both fighters' IQs are here. They're not too far apart when it comes to how they both think the game. They are two of some of the most technical savants that boxing has to offer. Some of the most high IQ driven fighters. You don't do what Crawford did without being smart, and you don't do what we've seen Canelo do without having an elevated level of IQ. You don't do that. But when it comes to physically, that's where the biggest discrepancy lies when it comes to this fight. But we may be underestimating the true physical nature of the likes of Terence Crawford. And it could very well be that if this does bode true, that his power does carry. And for the run that we saw at 147 was not just because, oh yeah, that's his prime weight, but it's because it's his all-encompassing legitimate power. The one fight with Magimov, though it does bring up some legitimate questions, there is a hypothetical situation that could just be a one-time situation or a one-time stint. And his power actually is able to carry once he gets up to 168. That may be why he's not fighting and only worried about making the weight. Again, all speculative, but it could be a situation. Because now that breeds a situation where, okay, let me train my body, my mind, and in the ring, that'll all handle itself. Let me get my body fine-tuned, not just to make the weight, but to be able to curate it. One thing I said, I want you to see what the car looks like on a test run before the actual race. It's why I would love to have Crawford fight in a legitimate fight. Just one time. Like we're seeing with Canelo. Before that ultimate fight in the biggest of stages with Canelo. But maybe he has his own method, his own regime. He trusts his team. We know what Bomac and them do all the time in the gym. But it generally could be like, I just need to get there. And when I get there, I'm going to show you all why I'm not just some mentally talented fighter. Why this isn't going to be just a physical versus mental type of warfare. Canelo being the physical and me being the mental. This is going to be a fight outright. Y'all may be underestimating my ability to be not just a physical fighter, but the physical fighter in this fight with Canelo. And wait till I get to the ring, and you're gonna see what I'm about. Hypothetically, again, not all speculation, all just thinking out loud. That could be what we're seeing, and that track record is still indeed the track record. And the Madrimov fight, we may be hypothetically overemphasizing that rather than looking at the reality of who Crawford is, what we've known him to be able to do, how much of a physical anomaly he actually is as a fighter, which, again, documented, is insane. Once he gets to 168 on the night of the fight, he could very well shut us all up. He could very well shut everybody up. But just food for thought for everybody to see and think about as we, again, are still anticipating this highly invested affair. And real quick, what the word's going on here? Albuga, excuse me, I'm sorry. What's this about Caleb Plant's wife? What happened with Ryan Garcia and Caleb Plant? Can somebody fill me in on this? Because this is news to me. Hold on a minute. I thought Ryan Garcia was beefing with Teofimo Lopez. And I thought it was the fact that he had beef with again, Devin Haney, of course. What is this about? What is this about Tio's wife? I am perplexed. I am confused. I am. Who said did somebody did Rusty Case El Pinchy said something? Facts, El Pinchy, I ain't calling another man pretty. That's wild. Wait a second. Hold on. I'm a little lost here. Can somebody explain what's going on? Because this seems like something I need to be invested in. Is this a call out? Did somebody go after somebody's wife? Did somebody call somebody pretty? What's the deal? Unless I'm just late in the conversation. Is this something I need to know? Please. Is there something that has just dropped or just happened that I need to be aware of? If so, please let me know. I try to be prepared. I try to be prepared for the show as much as I can. But if there's any new developments, new beef, new fights that potentially on the docket, please, please tell me. Oh boy. Oh gosh. And so wait a minute. We are calling Floyd a pretty boy when you really think about it. It's a, see, okay. Look, when it comes to in fact, no, we've talked about this before. We don't pause. We don't stutter. We don't backtrack unless necessary. We stand 10 toes down on what we say. If I call Pretty Boy Floyd, doggone it, it's because that's his name, Pretty Boy Floyd. And guess what? The boy was seen as pretty at that point in time. Of course, still calls himself handsome and all that stuff now. Whether it's ego, whether it's all that case may be. I ain't judging the man looks, I'm just giving you exactly what he is. The brother was called pretty then. He's called money now. He was pretty then, and he got money now. So I don't see the part. I don't think, for me, that ain't suspect at all. That's just straight up, hey, at this point in time, I'm content. I'm solid in what and how I'm feeling and who I am and what I do. Pretty, handsome, shoot, blue eyes. Ain't that what they call Frank Sinatra? Old blue eyes. I'm all, don't matter to me. I care about what you do, how you perform. Look, whatever your nickname is, fine. Great. Can you fight? That's the biggest thing. Can you fight, or can you perform and produce in whatever athletic field you are in? That's all I care about. I respect the name. Absolutely. But shoot, at this point, I don't care if it's real, if it's fake, if it's a contradiction to what you actually are, don't matter to me. Can you fight? You can fight. I'll call you whatever the word you want to be called. It's fine to me. Fine to me at all. Listen, I can do pretty boy if it's a nickname. I can't call any man and daddy. That's a bridge too far. Again, like what about what's that? What was that brother's name? I think he's a musical artist. Was he a musical artist? Was it Big Daddy Kane? Was that his name? Was it Big Daddy Kane? That was his name. Yeah, Big Daddy Kane, Big Daddy Riddick Bowe. There's been look again. If it fits, cool, fine. I ain't got no problem with it. I ain't got no issue at all. Cause for me, it's like I'm not. I never got into all the suspect stuff and whatnot because I'm like I don't feel some type of way because I know what I'm about. I'm like it doesn't really affect me at all because the whole thing is one, marketing, two, like if it flows and hey it's whatever. And so, and Big Daddy Kane just wanted to go super performing and dance and jump from side to side. And there ain't nobody got a problem with calling him Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Riddick Bowe, everybody ain't got a problem with that. So it's like, for me, it's, hey, I'm cool with it. Because it does me no harm. And it ain't like I'm trying to act or be a certain way. And again, if that's your lifestyle, okay, fine. I ain't got no, again, I'm not on either side of the fence. It's just for me. And again, for show, also for show, appreciate you coming through and showing up absolutely for, and again, this doesn't apply to anybody in the chat. Nobody in the chat. But on social media, there's been some instances where you see people get bent out of shape over calling people certain stuff. Or even complimenting people, specifically men. More so anything. I'm not trying to be some health therapist, but it feels like this is something that should be said. In some situations, insecurity or potentially what you'll be perceived as stops you from being able to do what you want to do or be who you want to be. Now, for me, I try to not let that do anything. Hence, whether it's insecurities or potential outside reflection, try not to let that skew how I operate in life. I'm not saying that's anybody here, but just as a general advice from somebody that does care, which this is more than just a show. We care about you more than just y'all bringing me some money. We care about we care about you in life in general, as well as in sports. I said, we really, I do. Truly, we do. And so because of that, don't let the perceived notion of what you're going to be seen as or called as or perceived as stop you from operating like you want to operate. Now, again, with all that being said, in certain situations, yes, there is some times where you need to take a look in the mirror, step back a little bit, and reevaluate some things. Understand it in certain aspects when they are required. But just in, daily life, or life in general, in most facets, be you. Say how you feel. Say how you want to say. Be authentic. Don't let somebody else try to push down or make you feel some type of way because of what you say and or do. Again, with context. this, because there's some certain situations. Well, yeah, you gotta be called out on. There's some situations where, yeah, somebody got to say something, brother. You need to step back. You need to calm down. In some situations, absolutely, completely. Again, that's why I say with context. But on average, in the whole, be you, be secure and be grounded. That's why, and so again, with all respect, I try not to let people drive how I think. But y'all see the comments when I post the shorts as much, or in some cases as little, as they go out into the airways. You see what some people say. You see how some people do, how some people feel about me, and how some people don't care. All of that, if I let that drive me, I'd lose my mind. But because I'm grounded, or try to be as grounded as I can, don't let it happen. And so, yeah. So that's what I was saying. But let's see. So is Terence Crawford going to 168 just to fight Canelo? Why Canelo is other fighters at 168? So yes, he is going to 168 to fight Canelo Alvarez. That is the main goal. That's the only goal. Yeah, there are other fighters at 168. Absolutely. However, this is a situation where Canelo, like with everybody, is the golden goose of boxing. Not just in financial status, but he also holds every belt in the division. And with Terence Crawford right now, at this status in his career, the only reason why he would be fighting would be for titles. He's one, because he's built like that, and he wants to only get the toughest competition, similar to the likes of Inoue. And two, he reached a threshold where he is at a point where, yeah, I can get to a fight at 160. I can skip the line to get the fight that I want due to my status, because of who he, after the Spence fight and with the track record of not just being pound for pound number one for so many years. Right now, pound for pound still number 3, at least in my list. Some people it's 2, some people it's 1, regardless of which. So dominant, with a incredibly stacked resume, and as well as now solidified as one of the biggest names in the sport. With this fight also being one of the biggest financial fights that we can make this year. Because like we said countless times before, if we can't get Canelo versus Benavidez, the only other fight that we would even get up for to be invested in would be either a rematch with Canelo against Bivol at 175, and even then that would be kind of blasé because we saw what happened the first time. Canelo versus Benavidez, which we know that would never happen because he didn't try to do it when Benavidez was the champion. Didn't call him out at all, ever. Even when he had a belt, never called him out. So we know that'll never happen. And then Crawford versus Canelo. Those were the 3 fights that we all wanted. 4 fights, Benavidez, Bivol, Benavidez, or Crawford. Bivol versus Canelo ain't gonna happen. Canelo versus Benavidez will never happen. Benavidez versus Canelo most likely will happen, but Canelo keeps on not wanting to fight, which could potentially, depending on how this Benavidez and Bivol fight happens, he could be facing a wall where he can't get away. But right now, that fight ain't happening. So the only other alternative for Canelo to still make mega money, in terms of like mega money, more than he gets for the average fight, which again, it's still mega, and to still be seen as we're satisfying the fans and we're giving the people what they want, would be Canelo versus Crawford. So that's why this fight's happening. Crawford earned the right to skip the line using his weight in terms of his name and resume and status to force his way into a position that he wants to be in a fight that he wants to fight it. Canelo, the only other fight that will make him the money that he really, really wants is going to be the fight with Crawford. Hence why it lines up. And that's why this fight's happening. There are other people at 168, but they're not worth Crawford's time because one, they don't have any titles, and two, they wouldn't make nearly the amount of money. And it's like, Yin Papao, or excuse me, that's it right? Excuse me, so, I'm sorry, Yin Pali, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning into the show. Absolutely. People don't want Crawford versus Canelo. People, I think I've said this before, but people, they do want to see it. There is an investment. Canelo didn't even want that fight. Again, there is an investment. What people want is Benavidez versus Canelo. When it comes to a Canelo fight, we want that. That's all we've been asking for nearly 4 years. We understand that. But outside of Canelo versus Crawford, and since we know we're not getting Canelo versus David Benavidez potentially anytime soon, if maybe ever, what else is there that you want to see Canelo fight against? Who else is there that you want to see Canelo fight against? He lost to Bivol, and he's not going to let Bivol come down to 168 to fight him for his undisputed title like Bivol said he wants to do after he gave Canelo a shot at 175. He already said that. Canelo already said that. It's not happening. I'm coming up there. You ain't coming back down here. So that fight's off the table. Munguia, he knocked out. William Squaw right now currently holds the title. We don't care about that fight only because we don't think William Squaw has a major shot at winning at all. There's levels to this, and Squaw isn't on that level. He's a big guy. Don't get me wrong, but he's not on that level. Caleb Plant, he knocked out. Boo Boo Andre, everybody says he's old. And he got beat by David Benavidez. Further pushing down the ability for people to think that he could beat the likes of Canelo. And if anything, he ain't fought in oh so long. So, who else is it that you want him to fight? Because I can't see anybody. Who else is it that you want to see him fight? Because we've gone through the names. And it's I don't know who else to do. That's the issue. This is the only fight that makes sense and that people are actually invested on a wide scale. His fans are always going to support him. Understandable. But on the whole of the boxing world, isn't our biggest complaint that he's fighting people that we don't see as valuable to his legacy? Specifically ducking Canelo, fighting Ryder, fighting Munguia, fighting Edgar Berlanga. All those fights we lament. Crawford was the only buddy who I've said before, if anybody has the ability to make this fight an upset and to potentially shock the world, it would be Canelo. Oh, it would be Crawford. It would be Crawford. We have routinely said that. And we have also said that there is a real situation and understanding that we've seen this type of potential incredible performance before with Leonard versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Though I think Hagler was robbed, it was still, he went and fought at a much bigger weight and showed, okay, yeah, against the best of the best, I can hang, and ultimately got the win. Though I think that was the wrong decision for context. But still, it was a great fight because the fighter was great. And was able to fight in spite of the weight, in spite of the perceived power differential, in spite of the physical struggles that going up that drastically would bring. Roy Jones Jr. did it also in his run from 154 to 160 to 168 to 175 to heavyweight outright. Fought above the weight. We think Crawford can do that very thing. Hence why our imagination for why we want to see this fight continues to grow. Because there is an actual possibility that he can accomplish this. Because we recognize the talent transcends the weight class. We recognize the talent transcends just what he is at 147. We recognize his talent is able to go beyond what is normally perceived as a dire situation moving up that much. The reason why I never want to hear Canelo to fight Charlo is because Charlo had never shown anything to show that he can fight above where he's at, excuse me. His talent was never there. His will was never there. His power definitely was never there. But even beyond that, the simple skill set to go and actually be competitive was never there. He never showed it. Hence why he took a payday and laid down and died and didn't even try. Because once he felt the power, he knew his skills could not take the risk. His skills couldn't match the risk of what this is. That's the problem. And so when it comes to Crawford is not Charlo. Crawford's not any of the Charlo brothers. Crawford is a completely different animal that will look to find a way and has this ability to find a way. Unlike other people that would be put in this same scenario. I'm not saying he will. I'm saying he can. That's the biggest thing. That's what makes the fight game so exciting. It's not that somebody will do something. More that somebody can do something. The possibility that this can happen. And the understanding that boxing is such an unpredictable sport. That's why this is such a vastly talked about and invested fight. Because we understand the odds are oh so big, but it is the possibility. The more, or rather, excuse me, it is the more than anticipated possibility. The elevated level of legitimate upset potential due to who is involved in this fight that makes this a truly investing affair. Because this isn't just an underdog story. This is one of the best in the world going up against one of the best in the world. And one of the best in the world is at a physical disadvantage. But mentally, some people may say he's above the likes of the other best in the world. Talking about Crawford being smarter than Canelo. In many people's eyes, ironically enough. He's got the smarts and he's got the dog in him to be able to go and out kick the coverage that we put him in when it comes to his ability to compete at this elevated level. That's what makes Crawford such an interesting figure, because he keeps on doing it. The biggest situation was when he beat Madrimov, and then before that when he destroyed Errol Spence Jr. When he destroyed Errol Spence Jr., who was supposed to be bigger, stronger, tougher, got more dog in him, was taller, more powerful. All of that is what we said about Errol Spence Jr. I picked that Crawford would beat him. I said he had the skills to. Many people said I was ridiculous. Night of the fight. You can go back and look at how I predicted the fight. I did a whole thing. Almost down to the punch. I called exactly what would happen. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Almost down to the punch. I called exactly what would happen in that fight. You can go back and check me. Go back and fact check me. Almost down to the punch. I called just about everything that would happen in that fight. Because I said he is more than what you expect him to be. That's what we see with this same situation. Drastically more dangerous, but just as similar from the standpoint of how Crawford is perceived. And if we've seen this brother do this before, with the same level of legitimate back against the wall type circumstances, and come out and do what he did, there is nothing to say that this can't happen again. Especially with what we understand concretely about what Crawford is as a fighter. He is bigger than just his weight class. He is bigger than just his division. He is better than just being relegated to what he is at his prime. Or at his quote unquote best weight. He can do that. That's what I'm saying. And so that's why I'm saying this is indeed a invested fight. Hence why Crawford's not too small. He's smaller, but I don't think he's too small for this fight. In my humble estimation, let's see, Bivol didn't even know who Skrull was. Just did a recent interview. Yeah, see, and so it's again back to the point. We don't know. There's no other option for Canelo that fans would be satisfied with except for this fight, if not Benavidez. That's the only one. And so I'd rather him fight any top 10 168 pounder than a welterweight. I completely understand. I get it. No question about it. Again, there's still work to be done. Absolutely. It's just the fact that most of the top 10, as much, again, I'm with you. Reign and rule. Keep on knocking them down as they come up. Absolutely. But also, I understand that when there is an understood level of anticipation, draw power, and legitimate talent in front of you, even at a smaller weight class, that is, in my opinion, worthy of an opportunity, that in this case, it's too big and also too lucrative to pass up, and also fits the criteria of one of the four fights that we would want to see you in, of the list of fights that many fans would be and currently are invested in. You do it. So I completely understand how you feel. Absolutely. It's just in this situation, this fight does make sense to make happen. And if Canelo beats him, okay, cool, fine. If Canelo beats him, watching him, great. That's all we need to know. You go back through, excuse me, and you go and keep on cleaning them out. Give Benavidez a shot then after that fight, and you go through and completely wreck 168. You reign just like with Inoue. Do that same thing. Go through the ring. Go through the gauntlet, or whatever's left of the gauntlet that you haven't beaten already. Go through it. Make it happen. Go ahead. I have no problem with it. But with this fight, yes, this fight should happen. At some point in time, this fight should still happen. Even let's say hypothetically he falls through. This fight still should happen. Because there still is too much invested interest. Though people may not like it. Love it or hate it, it is something that gets people wanting to see it. Unlike with the Charlo fight. And so that's what. And so Charlo was undisputed champion, and we've seen how that fight went. Crawford only had one fight at 154, and even Ortiz was more impressive against the same level of opponent. And so now we covered and watched this fight. Actually, we were here when we watched that fight with Ortiz and Madrimov. And it was, Madrimov was, for the first 5 rounds, Madrimov was able to use his legs and use his feet just like he tried to do against Crawford. And again, box the likes of Ortiz. And Ortiz couldn't catch him. Then round 6, once he started slowing down, that's when Ortiz started doing better and better work. And so both performances were incredible for their own right. Ortiz broke him down physically, and Crawford broke him down on a more technical level. Ortiz didn't box with Madrimov as much as Crawford did. In the pocket, going with him to jab him to the body more consistently, and also outright more technical work. That was on the side of Crawford. Ortiz, again, it was still great fight. Wasn't as technical, but still incredibly effective. Let him gas himself out, kept the pressure on of being on top of the likes of Ortiz. And once we saw Ortiz start to more and more slow down, and he was able to close the gap more and more and more, now started opening up his offense. Now started going through, using those hooks to the body, throwing that jab more and more substantially. timing when he would see Madrimov take a break and when he would go move. Then we start opening up with 2-punch combinations, then going down to the body. Next thing you know, round 7 and 8, now you're really ripping downstairs. Now Madrimov is forced to stay in the pocket with you, and now it turns into a fight. And at that point, now Ortiz as a fighter clears the likes of Madrimov. When it turns into a brawl and it turns into a fight, that's where Ortiz makes it his best. Hence, that's when he started having the most of his success and ultimately won the fight outright. But they both won in separate ways. So it's hard to differentiate, or it's hard to compare one performance to another to try to prove a point as to why one fighter is ready for a stage and one isn't. When it's the fact that they both went about that fight 2 distinctly different ways. They both won. Both went the distance. And it was impressive on both ends of the spectrum. And this is not me trying to hype up the likes of Madrimov. Madrimov is good. Madrimov is not a world beater. Absolutely. But he's still a good fighter. That fight with Crawford, because of who we know Crawford is, did put a lot of respect on him. For me, even in a loss, for what he is as a fighter. Yeah, it's tough to make Crawford have to think like that. And to have him only be able to finally figure you out fully by rounds 11 and 12, instead of what he normally does, which is by round 7 or 6, really start to have his way with you. Yeah, that's tough. That's hard. Physical capabilities or not, that's hard to do. And because we know who Crawford is. And so that fight was impressive. The fight with making Ortiz really have to work to get and turn this into a brawl like he loves to do, that is impressive also on the side of Madrimov. But still, he lost the fight. He lost both of them. And he lost them both in completely different ways. But still, both performances with respect to each are valuable in their own right. It's why I can't say that one is just clearing the other. Because they both went about it differently. At least from how I saw the fight, with respect. And so let's see. What do people have to say in the comments below? Let's see. Remember, pro boxing is 66% of entertainment and business, 33% sport. That's not a bad way to look at it. When we look at the landscape of the sport as a whole, the entertainment, we value the commodity is the spectacle. The substance is the fight. Now, we want the fights to always be the best that they can be. But if you can get the goal of the sport or of any sport, the business model is to capture the imagination of the fan. Bring them in with a story. Bring them in with a narrative. Bring them in with an unpredictable nature. Something about this event makes you drawn to it. Makes you think on a level that is, I got to see it. Makes it insatiable. Sense of an appetite for wanting to see whatever event's going on. You make everything feel like it is something worth watching. That's the goal of any business model, at least in the sports world and beyond. Make it worth your while. Sell you on an idea or sell you on a dream, and then make reality follow suit and confirm that the dream lived up to the hype. That's the thing. And so that's what that's what this is. The substance still matters, but what gets you in the door, that's the biggest thing. And that's what people get. So you got to listen to the fans. And fans, in my opinion, fans want this fight, at least from what I've been able to see all across the social media landscape and talking to people. Fans want this fight. They really do. And let's see, why you talk so bad about Tank for Roach coming up 5 pounds, but you don't have the same energy towards Crawford coming up even more for the Canelo fight? This fight and the Roach and Tank fight are not the same fight. This fight and the Roach and Tank fight are two completely different situations. The Roach and Tank fight was a fight that we were not calling for Tank to fight somebody from a lower weight class. Like I said, Marvin Hagler was calling out Sugar Ray Leonard when Sugar Ray Leonard was still at welterweight and he was reigning at middleweight. He called him out, and the world was okay with that because they understood who Leonard was, and they wanted to see that fight too at some time. That's the truth. You can go back and fact check. That's the truth. With Tank and Lamont, that is not what that was. Nobody wanted to see Lamont Roach fight Tank because we were all saying the only relevant competition that you need to face are the people that you say are not worth your time, which is Shakur, Keyshawn Davis, Teofimo Lopez, a rematch of Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. To go back and fight at 130 after, mind you, we were saying you could and should be fighting upwards of 140, hypothetically 147 if you can get there, which you can get there. And because of many people touting you as a talent, as one of the three best boxing talents in the world, fighting a champion from a lower weight class at that point in time, on top of having brought Leo Santa Cruz up and having issues with having to fight Pedraza, in terms of you thought you were being set up, test yourself against the best of the best now that are directly in front of you, not behind you. That's why I respected Lamont Roach, but his talent was not something that I had ever seen as able to fight against Tank. He was never even in any possibility, any semblance of talk before that fight got announced, just like with Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga. Nobody wanted that fight with Edgar Berlanga versus Canelo. We all hated that fight versus Edgar Berlanga versus Canelo, but Edgar Berlanga showed better than we all expected, hence why we gave him his props. But we didn't change, and we're not going to change what the context was when that fight actually came about, which was nobody wanted that fight. Nobody wanted that fight. And nobody wanted that fight with Tank versus Roach. His fans still supported it because it's a Tank fight, absolutely. But nobody of the boxing public respected that fight because we all understood at that point in time, we did not care about Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach had not done anything at that point to show us that we needed to care about him at 135, let alone at 130 when he only defended the title one time. When he showed better, we give props where props is due. Now we want to see the rematch. Because now you have become an object not just of affection for a lot of fans, but also you showed that you are worth the time that we need to spend to watch you fight, because you got something and now have a part of it. You have earned a portion of track record that requires us now to say, yeah, we got to see you. It wasn't like that before. You weren't on the radar at all. We've had more talk about Inoue fighting against Tank than we have about Lamont Roach. And we talked about Inoue fighting against Tank just like we talk about Crawford fighting against Canelo. Both situations are preposterous. Absolutely. I've said this multiple times. But the only difference is the two people that we're talking about that are doing this preposterous feat. If anybody could beat Tank coming up from 1 to 135, it was nobody else except for potentially Naoya Inoue. And the same thing for Canelo now. There's nobody else that we can even fathomably see as being able to beat the likes of Canelo if they moved up to fight him outside of Terence Crawford. Not Tim Tszyu, not Sebastian Fundora, not Mendoza, not any of the Charlo brothers. Nobody. Not Janibek Ali Mahanala. Nobody. There is nobody that we see, yeah, they could beat Canelo if they moved up in weight, except for the likes of Terence Crawford. And for Tank, it was the only competitive comp at a lower weight class was Canelo, or was Inoue for the likes of Gervonta Davis. Because that was a dream fight. And Tank don't respect nobody's skill set except for the likes of Inoue and Crawford. And even then, after what Crawford said about him, he may just not care about him at all. But that's it. This is why we're saying that this is different. We're not holding a different standard. We understand what is indeed competitive competition perceived versus what we almost always get, which is we want substance, we never get substance most of the time. They try to sell the whole selling you on a dream of entertainment of what this could be. Most of the dreams we didn't even believe because we understood the opponents that were being put in front of some of these people, or a lot of these dominant champions, were not worth our time when it came to witnessing them, because we understood they did not have a shot. It was not a competitive affair from what they had built up as a resume and what they had shown as fighters. That's why this is not the same. This isn't hate. This is reality. If the fight was worth making, I would have been saying, hey, everybody, watch out. This ain't what you think it is. This is something that can be real. If I actually felt that way. But I don't feel that way. That's the thing. I don't feel that way. Nick Ball versus Inoue, I'm excited to see if that fight ever does happen. Because I think Inoue, legitimately with his talent, resume, and actual all-encompassing boxing ability, would be able to put the lights out of Nick Ball, even at 126, and potentially Nick Ball coming up to 130 on the night of the fight, if he does balloon up and rehydrate. Because that's a big dude. That's a huge man for that weight class. That is a stocky human being. Wouldn't be surprised if he got up to 135 on the night of the fight. And still, I think Inoue has the ability to actually beat him. Most people at 122, I don't think that would be the case. Most people I don't. Not Louis Neary, not Tapalas. If you want to go lower, Diego Higa, maybe Tajiri, or excuse me, Taraji, hypothetically, but then his defense, as much as he's in the pound-for-pound conversations, solidified now for the Ring Magazine, always been at least in that threshold for me. After his fight with Akua, potentially he could do it. Juto, maybe I could see him in that conversation as well. But there ain't many. And if those fights got made, hey, we can make capitulations for that. But outside of that, it ain't like we're saying Nick Ball go back and fight everybody at 122, are we? We don't want Nick Ball to move backwards. We want to move forward. The brother's almost at 130, and if he keeps his dominant display, let's see him fight at 130. Let's see how far he can push himself. We want to see that. That's why we're saying those will be investing. There's some substance grounded in legitimate history and resume and talent. So I'm not trying to hate, but I'm not going to be fake about what we understand when fights get made. There's a reason why we either say this is good or this is bad. It ain't just because I'm trying to support or poo-poo on a fighter. It's because substantively, there's a level of, yes, this can happen, or no, this is complete outclassing, like we hate to see in boxing. That's what. And so that's all I'm trying to say. Hopefully that helps when it comes to that. But again, we got to go and transition, sadly, into the world of the next topic today, which is, ironically enough, another moving up in weight with the likes of Bivol and Benavidez. The fight we need to talk about. That's right sound. That's fine. That's fine. That should be okay. Yeah, here we go. We got to talk about, again, we still got more on the show. We got to talk about the likes of Benavidez versus Bivol. Another fight with somebody who, again, is moved up, looking to be one of the biggest threats to the world of the light heavyweight division. Now firmly in line to get a shot at the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. This is indeed a real situation that we have to understand. Essentially, just ask the question outright. Do you think Benavidez can beat Bivol? Not Benavidez, excuse me. Benavidez, my bad. My apologies, excuse me. Do you think Benavidez can beat the likes of Bivol? Do you think Benavidez can beat the likes of Bivol? Is there a genuine option that you think? Or, my bad, excuse me, I had to get something to drink. Or do you think that there's a situation where he's going to be outclassed by somebody who, if you can take the punches of a Artur Benavidez, and with concerns when it comes to the power that many people have in their minds as to the recent performances of David Benavidez at light heavyweight, do you think that as much as we can say that he's a threat, he just won't be able to do it? In your estimation, and in your opinion, I would love to hear your thoughts on the matter. Because in my thoughts, truly, like I've said before, Benavidez has a better shot at beating Bivol than he did if he fought against the likes of Benavidez. However, that is still a very hard shot to take. But I think, yes, he can win. Genuinely, I do. But the question is how. The real question is going to be how. Because for all of the attributes that we know Benavidez has at his disposal, one of the biggest attributes is indeed volume and the ability to go and keep up the pace with having a fight. Now, when we look at the landscape of Bivol against Benavidez, the very thing that helped him win was upping his own volume against the likes of Benavidez. And normally he does have a relative, I believe, excuse me, I think I got that right. But I believe under normal circumstances, he's got a relatively decent volume of his own, especially when he starts picking up the pace in terms of Bivol. Of course, he's great technical boxer, great footwork, all that stuff. Can be great defensively, can get in and out of range relatively easily. That Soviet-style level of boxing, coupled with his incredible IQ, makes it so that he can use angles and off-rhythm tactics to make it so that his offense seems oh so overwhelming and at the same time so difficult to predict. But going up against another walking behemoth like Benavidez, who is going to be a volume puncher like Benavidez, in terms of both of them have parallels that they do best. But one had power, and one, at least at this weight class, looks like that he doesn't. Could it be that the lack of power by Benavidez makes this fight potentially something that is too difficult for him to win? Because not saying that Bivol's got enough pop or power to hurt him. No. Not saying that Bivol's all of a sudden a world beater. Or, excuse me, all of a sudden a one-shot hitter-quitter type guy. I'm not saying that in the slightest. He's more of a technician, excuse me. One of the best in the world, but still a technician nonetheless. That's what he operates to do. But when faced against somebody without the level of power that he needs to respect, we have seen an elevated level of aggression. Look at Lyndon Arthur. Not comparing Lyndon Arthur to Benavidez. There's so many B's in this conversation. Not comparing Lyndon Arthur to Benavidez. Still, we have to understand that it was when Lyndon Arthur faced off against Bivol and Lyndon Arthur didn't have any pop to him, Bivol legitimately tried to go for the KO. He legitimately went in for the kill, trying to get him out of there, using all of his volume, all of his footwork, all of his tactics, as well as more newfound aggression than we had seen in the past to go get him out of there. And when faced with his back against the wall against Benavidez, to not lose a second time, went directly into the fire and was willing to say, okay, we doing this. Well, exactly what I said he shouldn't do. Now going up against Benavidez. What if we see Bivol legitimately just go and try to outwork the likes of Benavidez? Because we know he's got the stamina. We know he's got the combination ability. We know he's got the legitimate acumen and pinpoint accuracy to find holes in Benavidez's guard, which has gotten better, and to win offensively on his own, even if he can't hurt the likes of Benavidez. And he'll stay in the fire with Benavidez. He will. Let's not overlook that, especially now what we've seen with him against Benavidez. He'll stand in the pocket with Benavidez, and he'll say, okay, let's go. He'll still be technical and hard to, or try to be hard to hit. But he'll look to go and try to win exchanges if he sees that, oh, yeah, your power ain't nothing compared to what we saw against Artur Beterbiev. I can take these risks even more fervently, without any level of hesitation, even more deliberately. I can aim to try to be the quote-unquote bigger fighter in this fight because I've already gone against the biggest puncher. I've already gone against the biggest man in this division from a power standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from a outright strength perspective. There is nobody that I can see that is stronger than Artur Beterbiev. There is. He's chiseled like a rock. And so there's a real possibility that we could see Bivol take the aggressor's side against Benavidez. And if that does happen, that turns into a 50-50 fight that we could, hypothetically, see Benavidez lose. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying there is a possibility. Now, let's see. Rusty Cage, I'm hearing Benavidez versus Smith is most likely next, though. Now, there have been rumors about that, but as of right now, the most concrete thing I can say or know is that Benavidez versus Bivol has been, by the Belt Commission, activated as the official mandatory. So it's got to be that he gets his opportunity, at least to the negotiation table. And he's been in training, and everything seemingly is going swimmingly, that he's getting ready to get his opportunity at the heavyweight or at the light heavyweight title. Because initially we thought it was going to be Bivol and Beterbiev with the trilogy after Bivol won, which was like, hey, we're all for it. Let's make it happen. Absolutely. We want to see it. But now it seems like those talks have fallen through. The Bivol and Benavidez fight looks to be on the horizon. Turkey Al Sheikh said he's not going to bid on it, but somebody else can bid on it. But that fight looks to be, it is indeed there. So at this point in time, the operating until further evidence, or rather further announcements are shown, the operating census for the boxing public is, yeah, Benavidez and Bivol, that fight is next in almost all likelihood. We at this point in time, we may be more likely to see a Buatsi versus Callum Smith rematch because of how great that fight was, rather than a Benavidez versus Bivol, or excuse me, rather than Benavidez versus Callum Smith, because again, allegedly, negotiations are already talked about. Bidding for that fight is already open, and both fighters, or at least Benavidez, is already in training, looking to be prepped and ready for the fight with Bivol. So all roads at this point in time, from what I'm gathering, are pointing to Benavidez versus Bivol, which is great, which we have said on this show he deserves it if we don't get the trilogy fight. And he got made officially the mandatory, so everything looks to be lining up now, which is exciting, which is stupendous. So I would love to see that fight happen. And so, again, to essentially sum it all up, can he win? In terms of Benavidez, can Benavidez win? Yes, he can. Absolutely. Is it more likely than if he faced off against Better BF? Absolutely. Will we see Bivol potentially be the aggressor in this fight if we see that he doesn't respect the power of Benavidez? That adds a new wrinkle that can potentially sway this particular conversation. Because if Bivol does indeed take the aggressor as a combination puncher, though we know what Benavidez is, it ain't like Bivol is a slouch either. And technically, he is one of the best technical boxers in the world, not just in the division. So he's got offense, nuance, and legitimately unseen angles and a newfound skill set that potentially Benavidez at this stage in his career has not seen before. And so it could be a potential, there could be some more trouble than we may expect. But let's also not overlook the fact that Benavidez and Bivol have trained and sparred well in the past before, when Benavidez was younger. And allegedly, Benavidez put down Bivol with a jab. So if that is to believe to be true in sparring, hey, adds a whole new wrinkle yet again to this whole conversation. And Bivol has given Benavidez his props from said sparring session. Brother's a good fighter. The man is huge. Again, Bivol's words, not mine. Inside of the ring is a massive type of human being of a boxer. And he was good work. That's what he said. That's my high praise coming from somebody who at that point in time was still evolving as a fighter in Benavidez. To have Bivol say that about him at that point in time. Now, with the even better Benavidez, and seemingly, or not even seemingly, even still, a conquering Bivol at this stage in his career. There are a lot of conversations that's going to be had about this fight. A lot of nuances going to be had about this fight. Lots of different perspectives that we're going to have to really try to break down. Because I think this fight is closer than a lot of people may be expecting. I could be wrong on the night of the fight when it does inevitably get announced. But it's just some of the few things that we need to understand. Coming down the pipe of discussing this fight, there is more than meets the eye when it comes to, on both corners, what each can do to the other. Hence why this fight is so exciting. And I can't wait to see it. Also, Justin Kemp, how you doing? Good to see you. Great to be back with you on this show. No question about it. And I think that's about everything that we've had to cover in the world on my end of the spectrum. Was there anything else that I had in my notes or otherwise? Benavidez, Bivol, Roach, Tank. I think that's about it. So shoot, ladies and gentlemen, now that we're here, it's time for the best part of the show, which is the championship rounds. Yes, sir. No, no, not that. Hold on. There we go. Let's get it started right here. Yes, sir. Ring the bell. It's time to make the show your own. We're in the championship rounds. Whatever you want to discuss in the world of sports, whether it's boxing, basketball, football, sports, anime, movies, TV, don't matter, philosophy, don't all that stuff, advice, whatever you want to talk about, we got 30 minutes. We're going to try to keep it at 30 minutes. Make the show your own, no question. Put your comments in the chat. Put your own discussions. Put your thoughts. Put your debates. Put your dream matchups, whatever you want to do in the chat below. And we can go and talk through it right now on whatever you like to discuss. While we're waiting on you all to get your responses inside of the chat. Again, this is the championship rounds. We got to have ourselves some good conversations when it comes to the landscape of the world of, again, the NBA. We are a multi-faceted show. At this point in time, we've covered the likes of the MVP races. We've covered the likes of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus Nikola Jokic. Everybody's had their opinions, no question about it. But let's look at it outside of the end of the immediate races. widen the scope a little bit to some unprecedented levels of surprises in the NBA world, like with two teams that I want to talk about. Detroit and the Phoenix Suns. For those of you, we also got March Madness. Hopefully we can get the likes of some upsets happening in the world of basketball. Right now, we got Minnesota losing to Wisconsin, Houston beating SUIC, Creighton beating Louisville, Alabama playing today, Clemson playing today. High Point right now is in a fight with Purdue. 58-68, 2 minutes, 55 seconds left in the game. Again, High Point, their first time being in there. My alma mater, High Point University. Hopefully, y'all got 2 minutes to pull it out. Brothers, y'all better do something. If not, you're gonna do me dirty. My gosh, first time in the dance. We better show we can step instead of losing to Purdue. But right now, y'all ain't looking pretty. But regardless of which, we got a bunch of action in the world of basketball as a whole. So we got a lot to keep up on. But specifically, in the world of the NBA, as we go and look at Detroit and Phoenix, just as two teams I wanted to kind of harp in on. Brother, Detroit's looking insane right now. Can you believe it? I'm so serious. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? All of a sudden, Detroit basketball is more than just a moniker of a bygone era. This is a reality. But this team is sixth in the Eastern Conference, solidified themselves as a playoff team. If they keep, again, last 15 to 20 games in the season, they keep up. My goodness, they could actually be earn and keep their spot and reach the playoffs for the first time in what? A decade? Nearly what? A decade plus? Insane. Ridiculous. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Amen Thompson continue to shine. They just beat Miami off a game winner by Cade Cunningham, who is continuing to show he is an all-NBA, at least second team type player. You can argue all-NBA first team. He has garnered himself as one of the best premier point guards, outright one of the best premier players that this league has to offer. No question about it. That man is something serious. And Detroit's looking to be on a come up. This team's looking to be something that now they got what we have been waiting to see, or what we thought they would never get. A foundation of consistent production. A foundation of a basis of actual grounded talent and identity. A play style that's actually effective and goes to help bring out the best of this team. And I've also that is indeed built to succeed, which is something we thought from the days of Andre Drummond being the only bright spot that this team had to offer. All of a sudden having a whole squad of legitimate quality talent. Malik Beasley turned into something serious. Jalen Duren turning into one of the best rebounding and defensive centers and athletic centers that this game has to offer. Even Tobias Harris, for all the flack that he gets, understandably so, with what he should be as a player, he's showing up. It's preposterous, but we love it. And I think there's a real opportunity that if not this year, next year, we could see this team get prepared to start making some deep runs in the playoffs. Do I think they'll make it far this season? In my opinion, no. At least when it comes to the playoffs, because this is the start of the Renaissance. This is the start. This is the start of the industrial era. If you want to go based on what we know about Detroit, Michigan. This is the start. It's in Detroit, Michigan. Hold on. Let me before I start looking stupid. Before I start looking stupid, it is okay. Yeah. Detroit is in Michigan. I just had to make sure. I didn't want to look like a fool. I didn't want to look insane. But this is the start of their newfound industrial renaissance, their industrial era. They're going back to the well of now what their identity has always been. Defense, guard play, and legitimate consistency with being disciplined. Again, Detroit basketball. You can't be rough. You can't be tough, but you're also dedicated. You got your all-star level point guard. You have your bruiser, or you have your all-star level point guard and perennial first team All-NBA or second team All-NBA in Cade Cunningham. You got your enforcer in the likes of Isaiah Stewart. You have your other physical enforcer, but more so of a rebounding machine in Jalen Duren. You got shooters in Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley. You have a bench that is actually competent and effective. This is not the old. Oh, and then you have Sir Thompson, who is quickly turning into one of the not just best defensive players in the NBA, but as a player as a whole, quickly evolving into a legitimate asset for this team. Yes, he's only averaging 9 points right now, but there is some real growth potential in what this man can do. And I think it's going to come true later on. Him and his brother. In fact, I think him and his brother are both polar opposites from the standpoint of what they both excel at the best. Sir Thompson, defensive monster. Amen Thompson, offensive monster. Or evolving into an offensive monster. My gosh, if they can ever play on the same team together, shoot. It'd be incredible if they ever did in the NBA, though they played in college or rather in high school and whatnot. But no, this team is great. But on the flip side of the coin, as we look at the Western Conference and we look at the Phoenix Suns, this team is in dire straits.
Hey, look at this. We got the problems
here. Oh, shoot.
We got the problems here.
Can you believe that this is a squad that we, at one point in time, were touting as with Devin Booker, with Bradley Beal, with KD, they would be able to potentially replicate the success that KD had with the Nets when they almost got to the finals with this team. And now they're floundering as a absolute travesty, a dumpster fire. That's what Phoenix is right now, an absolute dumpster fire. Kevin Durant, as much as he's still playing like KD, is in absolute disarray. I mean, they're in shambles. They made the biggest mistake of their lives when they signed all three of them to that mega deal that essentially took away cap space for any other levels of growth that this team can garner. There is nowhere that this team can go because they have to pay Beal, Booker, KD, literally 2/3 of the entire cap space that this team has. It's ridiculous. This team's sitting at 33 and 37. They are floundering. They got less than a 500, well less than a 500 record going away. At home, they're not, I mean, at home they're 21 and 13, but the record of 33 and 37 doesn't do them any favors. This is a squad that is, in all honesty, they're floundering in mediocrity. And they got to make a move. And remember, I said that we could see Phoenix move KD. There is a real possibility that he can still go to OKC. Now more than ever, that type of implication is even more fervent because this team is now publicly saying, yeah, we're going to try to move him in the summer. Multiple reports are saying that this team is going to try to move KD out of Phoenix in the summer. They're going to try to rebuild outright. Get something done. Because we can't operate like this anymore. We need something. Now, more than ever, OKC's got a window to give up whatever draft picks that they want. Because they got over, They got 16 first rounds? They got like over 20 plus as a whole. Potentially pushing 30. Between now and 36, maybe even longer. They can move all the capital they want and maybe one star still not just be built for the future, but also surround SGA with some more incredible talent. A dominant four-headed monster they would be. Or three-headed monster, excuse me. With Chet Holmgren, SGA, and KD all on the same team. With Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, and the rest of that squad that looks to be a bunch of killers already. Young and hungry, spry and free, disciplined yet unshackled by feeling like they are in a system that doesn't capitulate to what they do best. They are built for so much. They're built for so much. And I promise you, it can happen. And when it does happen, oh my gosh, it's going to be, people are going to say, what have we created? And OKC, this might have been their plan all along. Save it. And we already got, we got the picks that we need. Once we see that we are concretely set, then we're going to make a move. Then we're going to make the blockbuster trade. Because now we're built and we've been smart. We got options now. We can become the most dominant team in the NBA within the span of one summer. And we only have to make one move, potentially. Hypothetically, two, at worst. Because we got enough capital to keep our whole roster and only give up a couple, if not maybe one core piece. And it'll be for a better core piece. Because we are just like the Godfather. We can make you an offer that you can't refuse. And you know it. You know when that offer comes from OKC, there's not going to be a thing that the Suns can say except for, yeah, we'll take it. Because it's going to be too good for them not to move them. They need a new start. OKC can give you 6 new starts if they wanted to, with all the draft picks, the first round draft picks that they have, if they wanted to go that route. And they could give you one of their stars if they wanted to. They could sacrifice Lou Dort, hypothetically. They could sacrifice Caruso, Hartenstein. They got so much bench depth and starting depth that they could sacrifice one or two of their core pieces and still be okay. And substitute that with KD. And then be better than we've ever seen before. This team is scary. I'm telling you. It's built. It's right there. We're on the cusp. Come next summer. I firmly believe we're going to see a trade that is going to make the NBA really look at themselves and say, what monster did we just create? What did we just do? To a team that the starting 5 is almost on par with the level, age-wise, with the level of starters in March Madness right now. I can't believe it. A decade plus of success is right in front of them. And they still are championship contenders right now. It's preposterous. It's insane. Ridiculous and insane. Oh, it's stupid. Be afraid. That's all I can say. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Be very afraid. That's all I can say about that. Be very afraid. But let's see what you all have to say. Did you watch Monday Night Raw? Did you watch Monday Night Raw last week? I believe I did. And I got to see John Cena completely shift on everybody. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to get into his promo after this. Let me go quickly see what Broadway has to say. And also, Broadway, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you showing up. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for showing up to the show. You're late, but you're still here. I'm excited for it. Please, if you haven't already, please leave a like on the channel. Comment your thoughts like you're doing right now. We still got roughly 15 minutes left in this segment of the show. We ain't going 3 hours. We're going to try not to go 3 hours like we did last time out. And I promise you, hopefully, are we there? Are we at 3 hours? I don't think we are. Okay, yeah, we're still good. We're still making some good time. But yeah, please, leave a like on the stream if you haven't already. Keep on sharing the show. We got roughly 15 to 30 minutes. This is, again, for those of you who are new, the Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch, where we cover everything from boxing to basketball and to now everything in between based on what you all have to say. We're in the championship rounds. We got 15 minutes to comment your thoughts and opinions on whatever you want to discuss. No question about it. We are here to make your voice heard and to have some healthy debates and competitions or just talk about whatever you feel. But when it comes to the world of what shoot, I don't even know how to say his name. Bravi, learn how to spell, doggone it. But See, I can joke about that because I know who this is, who's commenting. I appreciate you. Absolutely. But still, my gosh, you got a favorite in March Madness. Now, see, college, I don't follow nearly as fervently as I do the professional ranks of the sports world. However, what I do have when it comes to who I think is going to win the outright in the bracket, well, I hope it's not Duke. We're going to see if they can even get there, depending on the health of Cooper Flagg, not just in the first rounds, which I don't know if he's playing in the first round of the tournament, but also on the whole of the tournament. Will we see that injury reoccur, and will we potentially see them, boom, drop dead in the bucket? But this is real hypothetical. My favorite, most likely, if I had to choose one, not going to say Wisconsin. I'm not going to say Houston. I dare say Auburn. Again, this is just me being what I do know about the world of college basketball. I dare say Auburn may be able just to take it off. As in some people's eyes, maybe not as fervent of a, how do we say, a popular pick from the standpoint of acclaim, fame, and outright likelihood in many people's eyes. But for me, yeah, I'll pick Auburn to do it. I'll ride with Chuck. As much as that may shoot me in the foot, I'll ride with Chuck and we'll see what happens. No question about it. But we'll have to see how it goes from here. B Wavy, just spelled differently. Again, I can joke with B Wavy or Wavy, whatever the word he wants to say, because I know who this is behind the screen. And this brother knows that I need to tell him his butt needs to learn how to spell. Yeah, I'm standing 10 toes. I told you we don't stutter. Doggone it. Do we stutter? Do we back down? I said what I said, and I mean what I said. Doggone it. Get your butt back in school. Go back to college. Again, I can joke with him about his name because I know who he is. That's why. I respect everybody. But I can joke with him because I know who this is behind the scene. And again, I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate you coming through. I really do. But yeah, learn how to spell. Doggone it. Need to learn how to spell. And so, let's see. Is the Auburn team as old as NBA teams? Not fair. Hey, the one thing about college people say, people don't stay around long enough. With Auburn consistency and being in the program for longer than just a year or two helps not just to build chemistry, but helps to build a level of cohesion from the way that they play that is more mature than many other college teams, which can help them in their success. Which is why age over beauty in this situation. I'll pick them to potentially go all the way. They could get upset, no question about it. Outright, they could. But regardless of which, we're going to have to wait and see. Doggone it. I just checked the bracket. High Point got beat. No. Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Oh, no.
Hey,
No. My alma mater. My school. No. They got beat. High Point in their first ever appearance got beat by Purdue. Oh, my heart. But yeah, we'll be fine. Well, potentially we'll be able to come back. Arguably we'll be able to come back if we keep the same roster around us. And now for those of you who went to school there, if you watch me, there's some big plans that could potentially be coming in the next coming years because we finally got into the March Madness state. Because we finally got there. Well, we may have another sport coming our way very soon in the near future. And we got all this marketing ability about us. Oh, yeah. I've seen more stuff about High Point than I've ever seen since I was in school. And I'm telling you right now, they have just been waiting to get there. Mark my words, now that they're there, this school got some big plans for their sports programs. Potentially some helmets and shoulder pads getting ready to come their way. And when it does, oh boy, it's going to be something serious. But again, is there anything else anybody wants to say? Any other questions anybody wants to talk about? Any other types of debates, conversations, anything you want to discuss? We can talk about what do you think KD is starting to go downhill. Do you think Devin Booker is indeed living up to the hype that we see him as a, not just as an all-star, but as somebody who should be potentially further along? Do you want to talk about Jason Tatum and the Celtics? Do you want to talk more about boxing history? We got some time. Again, we got, I think at this point in time, now we got what? A couple minutes. It's what, 2:17 right now on the clock. Once this thing is 2 hours 30 minutes, we wrapping up. We out of here. We done. Just to give everybody some proper context. Booker and KD on a bad team. Absolutely they are. But this is the bed that the Suns made themselves. They could have chose not to pay Bradley Beal, have 2 big contracts, have enough money to where, boom, they can sign a better, less expensive third piece to this squad and still have more pieces to actively be able to build for more than just 1 year. Now they're stuck in a situation where they ain't got no money to pay nobody else. Everybody's unhappy. You can't trade Bradley Beal because you got a no trade clause. KD wants out of there pretty soon. If this keeps going up like this, Devin Booker may want out of there sooner rather than later. From a team that just got to the finals with Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, now with KD and Booker, or Chris Paul, Booker, and Ayton going to the finals against Giannis. Now with it being just an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, it's almost, you almost want to say it's shocking, but it's not. Because this is a problem that they created. This is a problem that they capitulated. This is a problem they were too stupid not to see in front of their eyes. Up until now, it's too little, too late. Self-sabotage by the means of just getting names rather than building a proper roster. You can't just win with just big 3 and nobody else. You got to have substance surrounding all those stars. Because when they go out or if somebody gets hurt, if anything goes wrong, you are now built to fail. You then become a trash can with you become a trash can with glitter. A bedazzled dumpster. That's what you are. You look pretty. Absolutely. But you're still trash. You look like something that is expensive. But you're still only built to have trash put inside you. That's all. You can dress it up as good as you want. You can't hide the smell. You can't hide what is inside of that trash can, which is still trash. This is not a hidden gem. But this is what they created. Only the Mavs have a worse front office than the Suns. At this stage, yes. At this stage, yes. And the Mavs, it's like their roster is better built. It's just one decision completely nixed everything that this team was being built up to be. That's the difference. This team actually had substance. And then they turned it into garbage with one trade. And then everybody that was substantive got injured. Back to back to back to back to back. Derek Lively, Gafford, Dante Exum, Anthony Davis in the first game. And it's just Kyrie. It's just bad all around. I'm telling you, Nico Harris better go into witness protection. That man is, you think I'm playing. But they are still in Dallas, Texas. You got some people, again, not to push the stereotype, but brother, the one thing that they known for, low housing, the houses are relatively cheaper. They got steak and they got guns. I'm not advocating for them to use, but I'm saying somebody, if this keeps going like this, brother, they got shooting ranges for a reason. And I'm telling you right now, they are, he's in There's a reason why he got more security. And the reason why we haven't seen that brother at all. He's put himself in a very drastically bad situation. Who got winning it all NBA? Who I got winning it all in the NBA? Excuse me. I have. Oh, that's a good question. I got Boston going back to back right now. Because once they get fully healthy with Porzingis and others, that team is still, in my opinion, the best equipped team in basketball. Their most likely upset will be if they face off against Cleveland in the Western Conference Finals or in the Eastern Conference Finals. Those are my two teams out the East. Outright. They just playing way too well. Respectfully, they're playing way too well. Then in the West, to get there, it's either OKC or y'all gonna hate me. Y'all probably gonna despise me. It's either OKC or potentially Los Angeles, the Lakers, not the Clippers, the Lakers. And this is because I'm just trying to ride the coattails. This team right now is playing like I've been saying they have been capable to play as over the last 3 years, even since Darvin Ham was there. I said that what we're seeing right now from this Lakers squad was possible 2 to 3 years ago. You can go watch it on this very channel. I've said countless times, this team is equipped to be a championship level squad. The issue is their coaching is so abysmal that they're putting them, because of Darvin Ham, that bum, that schmuck, that ever-present thorn in my side as an NBA personnel, coach, assistant, I don't care. He is a bum in every sense and framework of the word. There is nobody I cannot stand less than Darvin Ham right now. It still irks my brain that he was given a coaching opportunity, and when it immediately was seen that he was a scrub at it, they still kept the brother around. Boggles my mind. But regardless of which, I digress. This team has been, since then, still built to get to the finals. Not saying they would win it, but they were built to get there. Now, they're playing up to their potential. Not just because of roster moves, but because of the coaching that actually works for what this team can do. So, OKC, LA, my two teams out west, Cavs and Celtics, my two teams out east. And on the whole, I got Boston winning it. If I was to pick one to win it all, I got Boston winning it all. And so, yeah, Nico saved the team a lot of money. Nico saved this team nothing but turmoil and distress. Nico did not save this team money, though that's what he wants to perpetuate. Sure, they got off of a contract. The contract wasn't a bad value because it's Luka Doncic. The contract was because it's a top 5 player in the world that got you to the finals with the roster that you currently constructed. You went against a behemoth in Boston, yes, but still, he got you to the finals after making All-NBA 5 times. He's made All-NBA first team more than Steph has in his entire career. And Steph is, at this point in time, considered, in many people's eyes, one of, if not the greatest point guard that we have ever seen. And in a lot of people's eyes now, as the conversation arises, a top 10 player in the history of the game. And he's made more All-NBA first teams than him. And he's been in the league vastly less than what we've seen with Steph Curry. It's preposterous. You don't trade that. Regardless of whether you think it's saving you money. You don't trade that. They paid him what he was worth. Because he deserved it. He deserved that, no question. And they went and then opted not even to tell the brother that he was getting traded. Like, nah. Forget saving money. You ruined the franchise. Hypothetically, you've ruined the franchise. At this point in time, you have put this franchise in a downward spiral. You talk snarky. We're going to see if I'm right. And all this stuff. Y'all going to wait and see that the decision I made is going to be great. No, we're not. Because as much as you are thinking that Anthony Davis is going to be the man that you think he's going to be to elevate your squad, there is nobody, and I do mean nobody, that thinks that with this currently constructed roster, Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving are going to be the keys to get you to a finals appearance yet again. There's no world that we see that. The only person that we could see that carried Dallas to that finals was the person that did it, which was Luka. You put AD in that situation, as great as he is, we don't think he can do that. Unless he's with another incredible option like LeBron. Or another incredible talent like that. And this is not disrespect to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's phenomenal. Kyrie Irving is the greatest ball handler that we've ever seen. Kyrie Irving is on, I believe, on par for a career. Is as close to a 50-40-90 type player, percentage-wise, that we've seen. It can give you 50 on any given night. One of the best pure scorers that this game has to offer. He is not Luka Doncic. He is not LeBron. He is not anywhere close to that top 5 to top 10 conversation. And we all understand it. This is not going to work like he thinks it's going to work. With Kyrie being the running mate to AD, instead of Kyrie being the running mate to Luka, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same at all. Because the caliber of player and what they did to make that team work is completely different. It's completely different. Do you know how much the contract extension was? In fact, let's look it up right now. Let's do some digging and some research as we go through his contract currently. Oh yeah, we love to see it. And so let's see. It was a 5-year rookie extension, $215.16 million, which at that point in time was the largest in history. At that point in time. I believe currently right now his contract is, if we take a look at it, 5 years, 5 years, $215 million. And it's worth every penny. It's worth every single penny. He's getting paid $43 this year, $45 million next year, $48 million the year after that. And then is an unrestricted free agent the next year. And so that's what it is. And $345. No, I'm looking at it right now. I'm literally pulling it up right now. His current contract is $250 million. In fact, let me do the whole and say let's do what we do best. We go into the old picture in picture like we used to do back in the day. And for those of you who are listening to us live on the airways or listening to us in your car, on your job, wherever you are, again, leave a like on the stream if you would. We'll go to it right now. Let's go. Let me show you what it is with the picture in picture. Yes, indeed. And as you can see, Luka Doncic's contract. 5 years. 5 years. $215 million. Average salary is $43 million. This year, on the Lakers, he's getting paid $43 million. Next year, he's getting paid $45, or if we round it up, $46 million. And then the year after that, he's getting paid $48, or if we round it up, $49 million. So that's what it's like right now. And then he's a free agent in 2027 with, I believe, a player option in his last year of his contract if he chooses to go back and extend. And so, yeah, that's That's the contract. That is the contract. I'm not trying to blow smoke. That is the contract as we see it as right now. That's how it is currently constructed. And so at this point in time, it's worth the money. It was worth the money, excuse me, at that point in time. But now the Lakers took it on and they're more happy for it because they have a solidified dog for the next 3 years, potentially for the next 8 to 10, depending on if he goes and uses that player option or signs an extension with them afterwards. So at this point in time, no extension has been signed. The only extension was the initial signing with Dallas for $215 million, which, again, the Lakers picked up in the trade. And now he's getting paid through that. Once that contract ends, then up for a player option, and then or can go into free agency and fully negotiate from there, whichever route he chooses to go. So that's what it is at this point in time. But I believe that's about it. I think that's everything that we got to discuss. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think we got to get out of here because it's time to go. We are in. We're still in the. Are we in the window? Yeah, we are in the window outright. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to go and bid you adieu. So, with that being said, this has been another episode of The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the show. We gotta go, sadly. I don't want to leave you, but we got stuff to do. I got stuff to do, and we also got to be sure that we all still can enjoy the rest of the day. But I've been Jean-Luc Welch. This has been The Welch Report. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. Good show, brother. I appreciate you coming through. And again, I'm sorry I missed your last chat about Dallas. We'll talk about it more later on and the next episodes for next week. Again, we still got more to cover in the world of sports every single week from Tuesday to Thursdays. We also do live streams on the show for live fight commentaries and whatnot when I'm available for mega fights. So we'll keep you informed on all that. Be sure to like the stream, subscribe if you haven't already. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple, and every podcasting platform. I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here. Yes, sir. We will see you all on Thursday. And let's see, do a show tomorrow. I don't think I'll be able to do a show tomorrow because I got some stuff I gotta handle. If I can, great. I'll make it happen. No question. But if I can't, again, that's why I got these 2 days stacked out so I can make sure I can handle the rest of the stuff outside of the show and with the show for the rest of the week. We got a schedule. But again, if I can do more or if y'all want more, hey, put it in the chat. Put it in the comments. Tell us your opinion. You give us your thoughts on the show, how we can improve it, make it better, what you looked for, and what you would like to have. If we can apply it, we apply it. So we want your feedback. The best way to grow is to listen to what the audience has to say and take what they say. And if you can make it happen, make it happen. That's what we're gonna do. So yeah, if you have a way that you feel this show can be better or something you would like to see, put it in the chat or put it in the comments of various videos. I'll see them. I'll go through them. I'll see if I can make it happen. And we'll make this show better and better. Absolutely. No question about it. And we'll make some more content surrounding all that. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you all. But we got to go. I got to get out of here. Peace and love. We'll see y'all next week. We're out of here. We're gone. And catch y'all on Tuesday. Be safe. Be blessed. Enjoy your weekend. And we out of here.